This is Flashpoint. It's a far-right TV show owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland. And oh my God, does it get crazy. They brought Mario Murillo on. He's a normal guest on here. Well, normally probably isn't the right word. Regular guest is more accurate. Anyways, he comes on and tells this unhinged, bizarre story about Reddit. It gets weird. Let's watch.
Let me bring in Mario Murillo. Mario,
Oh my God, Mario Murillo, dude. If you don't know this guy, he is a nutter butter of epic proportions. He is a televangelist who does faith healings in the most underhanded, disgusting, deeply depraved way that you could possibly imagine. Let's see what he has to say here.
Does this excite you like it does me when you hear Jack?
Well, Gene, I'm going to tell you, it's explosive excitement because 2 years ago when this show began, it looked bleak. It looked like they had successfully stereotyped us.
Right.
But the devil overplayed his hand.
Dude, what is going on with his audio right now?
You know, Gene, my son walked up to me last night and he said, Dad, you got to see this post that's on Reddit. And I looked at it.
Oh, God, they mentioned Reddit. I'm surprised. Apparently his son reads Reddit. Okay.
I couldn't believe it. Here's a 15-year-old boy that decided to tell his dad, I don't want to be a girl after all. And the father is trying to talk him into it still.
Wow.
Because he said, you look good in a dress. I've paid all this money for the hormone blockers.
Wow. Oh, fascinating. Okay. So let's just try to draw this out and just draw the picture out that we're talking about here, okay? Mario Murillo is telling us a story that he heard from his son, who heard from somebody else on a social media website about some person who told his dad that he didn't want to be trans anymore, and the dad said he looks good in a dress. I feel like there are a few degrees of separation more than I'm comfortable with. If we were getting the story straight from somebody's mouth, I would want to, observe the facts and look at details and ask the dad what his side of the story was and everything else. We aren't even getting one side of the story. We're getting somebody else's side of the story right now. It's bizarre. How do they buy any of this garbage? This is insane.
And I want you to have the surgery because I love the way you look in a dress. You are far pretty.
Dude, okay, surgery is so incredibly uncommon. It is extremely difficult to get gender-affirming surgery. You have to go to a therapist for like years and take hormone blockers for years and talk to this therapist for years before they will even consider giving you surgery. And it seems like he's talking about a minor here. Now, I don't know that he directly said this kid was a minor, but he's at least trying to give us the impression that he was. Because he's telling his dad what he wants and stuff. Why would an adult be asking their dad or talking to their dad about what they want and listening to what the dad is telling them to do? They are implying that it's a minor telling this story. Minors don't get trans-affirming surgeries. It doesn't happen. As far as I know, there isn't a single hospital or doctor in the entire United States that are willing to give trans-affirming surgeries to minors. Boston Children's Hospital famously got attacked recently because Matt Walsh claimed that they were giving gender-affirming surgeries to minors. Wasn't true. They don't. They never did. Just made it up and made them the target of stochastic terrorism as a direct result of what he said and did. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. How these people act. And the things that they say and do and the lives that they ruin, it's fucking disgusting, honestly. So anyways, let's keep listening to old Mario Murillo here tell us this second or third hand story that he heard from somebody who heard from somebody who heard from somebody or whatever the hell is going on.
You're feminine. See, this is what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. This is how far it's gone. This is why people are rebelling and leaving the Democratic Party.
You know, this story that he's giving us is almost as ridiculous as the litter box story that everybody is passing around right now in right-wing circles. Like, they put a litter box in the bathroom for a kid who thinks that they're a cat or a dog or something like that. Completely made up. But oh my God, this urban legend, this conservative urban legend will not die. People are absolutely convinced that this is real. No reason to think so. They just want to believe it desperately, to the point that it's being repeated on like Joe Rogan and every other major right-wing podcast out there. It's insane.
Because it is demonic. It is evil what's going on right now.
All right, so I'm just going to step back so we have like that whole thing in context, because I feel like I paused a lot. Let's listen to this whole statement one more time in full context.
We're up against, ladies and gentlemen. This is how far it's gone. This is why people are rebelling and leaving the Democratic Party, because it is demonic. It is evil what's going on right now.
Claiming that it's demonic and evil like this is deeply dangerous. This is dehumanizing language, and it's the kind of dehumanizing language that has historically been used to whip people into a blood frenzy and target groups of people with violence. So I am deeply disturbed by Mario Murillo just on a good day, and particularly disturbed by what he's saying right now.
But we are at that turning point. You know, I'm going to tell you, to make a political commercial today, if you were running for office against the Democrat Party, you don't have to have a platform. You don't have to have a strong message. All you have to do is quote them. Run one quote after another of what they espouse, what they...
Isn't this fascinating? This is actually the case for Republicans. This is actually the case. Republicans don't hold any policy platforms. Republicans aren't like lobbying to change anything right now. All they're trying to do is scare the shit out of you with ridiculous stories about trans people taking over a school or having a litter box installed for people who think they're cats or something like that. That is what the Republican Party is all about. And here we sit with Mario Murillo, hardcore extremist evangelical Republican, claiming that the Democratic Party is like that. That's what the Democrats are all about. That the Democrats don't hold any policy positions. No, Democrats hold a lot of policy positions that they've stood for a long time now. They want to do police reform. They want to do bail reform. They want to do all kinds of stuff to fix issues. They have ideas for the economy and ideas for all kinds of things like that. But this guy wants you to think that Democrats have absolutely no ideas. They're just repeating trans-affirming, like, talking points. Complete nonsense from top to bottom. This is another example of the know you political strategy that Republicans are taking right now. Whatever you expect Democrats to accuse you of as a Republican, you say it about them before they say it about you. Because it'll sound ridiculous to anybody else listening in when the Democrats turn around and say that about you. Just accuse Democrats of the exact same thing that they're accusing you of. Simple as that. It's nuts.
All the Senate and Congress that are running for office right now, just quote them, and you'll have the most devastating commercial there is. And we've got to understand, as the Flashpoint Army, that our hour has arrived. These things we're doing is finally working. We've got the home learning system that Sam is talking about. We've got the voter.
Yeah, earlier they were talking about like a homeschool type of thing. She's got a homeschool curriculum, but she doesn't want to call it a homeschool curriculum or whatever because, I don't know, because homeschooling has like a bad reputation. Who knows?
Registration that John is talking about. There's so many good things happening right now, so many advances that everyone that's watching can find a place. I know where I belong. I'm winning souls in numbers like never before. And I'm thanking God because I have been involved in political commentary, but more and more and more, the hunger of people to get saved is dominating my format and my time. God is moving, folks. Let's move with him. Our moment has arrived.
It has arrived. And John, this is encouraging when we see stuff, or we see people, not stuff, but people like Jack Brewer stepping out and saying what he believes, and he's putting all of his wherewithal behind it.
Yeah, so this guy on the right here, he's a common guest on Flashpoint. If you're unfamiliar with him, he puts out like voter guides, sends them out to Republicans who get on a mailing list. Like if you live in, I don't know, New York City, he'll send out a list of people that you should vote for in New York City, basically. I don't know. It's good political activism, good political campaigning and stuff, I guess, but he's one of the more harmful people to society, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I thought he was so articulate. I was so impressed the whole time. Just everybody from Mario to Sam to Jack. What's the theme already in this show? It's people of faith have two battles. We don't just fight this political battle, but we're also helping people in the middle, and that includes rescuing people who are deceived by the propaganda that's happening in big tech, mainstream media, and honestly, the parties, there's corruption in both parties, but the Democrat Party has been taken over by the far extreme Marxists. I mean, they're intent.
Not even a little bit. This is complete nonsense, complete propaganda. It is just intended to convince people that Democrats are the ones moving away from the center rather than Republicans. It's obvious that there is a massive shift happening right now politically. Some party is moving away from center dramatically and quickly, and they want their listeners to believe that it's Democrats moving to the left rather than Republicans moving to the right. Fascinating.
On hating America, hating many races and genders inside of America.
He's talking about Democrats?
America's Christian foundation, people of faith. And so to me, when people, we talked about it earlier, when people get good information like this, when they hear someone articulate things like we just heard Jack do, it changes people. I don't care if they've been deceived for the last 30 years going, oh, you know, if I'm black, I better be a Democrat. And if I'm not, I'm going to be doubly hated. Well,
this is just propagandistic nonsense as usual.
If they're saying they're for these people, why do they have to keep them locked up on an economic plantation where they have to be forced to trust the government instead of the nuclear family, instead of God, instead of a mother and a father, instead?
Dude, what is he even talking about? What does he mean that like Democrats are locking up black voters on an economic plantation? What? I don't understand. What is he even talking about right now? It's complete nonsense, and it's loaded language that is honestly really fucked up.
Of their own community. And that's what I believe is going to be an awakening. It's going to happen in the black community, the Hispanic community. It's happening even in the young community. But there is, like Mario said, a huge battle that we're fighting of deception out there.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, we talk about taking America back. This whole year we've been talking about taking it with our Flashpoint live tour. And a lot of us understand what that means. But yet the left, and when I say the left, for this particular instance, I'm going to say MSNBC, they believe they need to save America from us. Watch.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I 100% agree.
The reason I started by asking if we'd ever been here before is because I think as a country, we all have to participate in it. Because if you have kids, your kids wake up if you have anything to do with an election, if you're an election worker or a news anchor, and they want to know what happened. And I think we have to have a conversation as a country about how we might not know the next morning what happened. We might not know the day after that. And that is their point. That is their point. They're not all running to win. Some of them will, unfortunately. They are running to sow discord in America. And it will change everything. We will wake up the morning after Election Day. We might not even call it that anymore in 2 years. We might not call it Election Day. We might call it Election Week. Because what we are watching, and because it's so slow, we don't cover it as a 5-alarm fire, but it is. We are watching Republicans not just destroying democracy in the dark, breaking into election officers and plugging stuff in. We're watching them do it from rally stages, debate stages. That's where they're doing it. And
yeah, absolutely. I completely agree 100% with what she's saying here. She's basically just saying there are some Republicans out there that have set out to destroy the political system, basically destroy democracy. There most definitely are a lot out there who have set out to destroy our election system completely. 100%. That's indisputable as far as I'm concerned, right?
And I guess the reason I asked you if we'd been here before is, do you think it requires, a democracy commission? Should President Obama ask Chris Christie and Ben Ginsburg to sort of man a democracy hotline the way, people used to man other crises? I mean, what should we do?
Okay, I'm not sure what they mean by man a democracy hotline, but all right.
Well, it doesn't take a commission. It just takes Republicans that have some character and integrity standing up.
Okay. All right. Some of you may be confused at home, and you thought Biden was illegally in that office. This is, if ever there was a clip why you shouldn't let friends watch mainstream media, there it is. She calls out President Obama. All that probably more.
Dude, did I miss something? Let me step back and listen to that clip one more time because I feel like I'm missing what they're even talking about. I feel like I need to process this again. Hang on.
It's so slow. We don't cover it as a 5-alarm fire, but it is. We are watching Republicans not just destroying democracy in the dark, breaking into election officers and plugging stuff in. We're watching them do it from rally stages, debate stages. That's where they're doing it. And I guess the reason I asked you if we'd been here before is, do you think it requires, a democracy commission? Should President Obama ask Chris Christie and Ben Ginsburg to sort of man a democracy hotline the way, people used to man other crises? I mean, what should we do?
Okay, so I guess they picked up on the fact that she just said President Obama rather than President Biden because they believe in their MAGA-addled minds that Obama is actually pulling the strings behind the scenes, that he's really secretly the president, and that Joe Biden is just his mind is just gone, and the people behind the scenes are running things for him, like Obama's the real president, and they're looking at this as a tacit admission of that fact, when in reality it's simply not true. I feel like Flashpoint jumped into this clip halfway through, probably intentionally, because that's the kind of thing that they tend to do, and kind of stripped any context out. Like, was there a discussion about Obama's involvement with the administration previously? Was there a discussion about how Obama should be involved in the administration more? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the conversation was about. It doesn't really fit, but aside from that, it doesn't matter if it fits or not because Obama is not pulling the strings behind the scenes like some kind of a puppet master. These people are obsessed with the idea that Obama is like part of the cabal that's controlling things secretly when people are, people just wanted to move on from that administration and they can't because he's like some evil demigod or antichrist or Gog of Magog or whatever that's trying to bring about the apocalypse or some other nonsense. It's insane where these people's heads are at.
Well, it doesn't take a commission. It just takes Republicans that have some character and integrity standing up.
That's not going to happen, unfortunately. That is what it would take to resolve this destruction of democracy. It would take Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, and Mitch McConnell and every other major Republican out there to denounce Trump, to denounce the conspiracy theories and the nonsense, and go the way of Mitt Romney or John McCain, refusing to accept that people are going to spread these conspiracies and call them out every time it happens. That's what it would actually take. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Republicans, as we're coming to find, have no backbone. None. And this is probably honestly true of Democrats too, or most of them at least. They have no backbone. They are too afraid to stand up to common sentiment because they think they're going to lose votes or they think they're going to get kicked out of Congress or whatever other thing, which may be true. But this is necessary for society's sake. We have to do this. We can't just let these people get away with this whole thing. Can't let them get away with lying and manipulating and claiming that the election was stolen and all that other stuff. We can't let them get away with it. We can't. Unfortunately, until somebody like in the Republican Party stands up and calls it out and points out that this is what's happening, that they're doing everything they can to erode democracy, it's going to continue to erode. That's just what it is.
Okay. All right. Some of you may be confused at home.
Yeah, this is calling back to the whole Obama thing. I am confused. You know why? Because it didn't fit. Is there a reason for that? Did they clip this out at that very specific part for any particular reason? Why didn't they give us context leading up to that? Was there a segment about Obama beforehand? This is what I'm talking about. These people are completely untrustworthy when it comes to creating clips. Can't trust a word out of their mouths because they do things like this all the time.
And you thought Biden was illegally in that office. This is, if ever there was a clip why you shouldn't let friends watch mainstream media, there it is. She calls out President Obama. All that probably is more accurate than what a lot of people have said. Sam, help make some sense out of this.
Well, of course, the first thing that she has to do is she has to point out that anybody who runs for office is sowing discord. I mean,
that is not what she said. She said Republicans who deny the results of the election are sowing discord, creating chaos, and destroying democracy. And that's simply true. But did you notice how they flipped it around like that? They want you to think that they are against democracy or some other nonsense.
that's really your point. If there's anybody who might have a difference of opinion from a Democrat, then they are anti-democracy and they're sowing discord. And
that's not the case. Democrats are largely, in favor of working with other Republicans as long as those Republicans are not election-denying conspiracy theorists. But they have to paint this whole thing with a broad brush, have to make it out like they are victims and that the Democrats are completely off the rails and ready to just destroy everything to get their way, because that's what these guys want to do. These are not standard Republicans. These are extremists that we're watching right now.
And of course, that's the only position that Democrats can take, because all of their actual positions are so completely untenable. So I love...
Untenable in what way? I never hear about how you think that these are untenable. I always hear about, trans people trying to take over, blah, blah, blah. You never actually address real criticisms of policies. It's always about furries in the classroom or some other nonsense. Always. Why don't you actually criticize the actual policy positions?
The conversation that preceded this one, the idea that that evil is taking over our children in our Democrat-run schools.
See, that once again, this is all about scaring the shit out of old people, making them think that there's some massive cabal, some conspiracy, some set of people that are out to get you, to control you, to hurt you, to take your kids away, or whatever other nonsense. That's what it's all about with these people. They want to fearmonger. They want to scare the shit out of you and everybody around you.
Headed up by Randy Weingarten and the Democrat-run, communist-run teachers' unions, and that is what passes for education these days. And all of that is nonsense. I just interviewed today for my show, for the Sam Sorbo show, I interviewed
Ooh, we're going to have to watch some of that.
Chloe Cole, who is a young 18-year-old who transitioned, so-called transition, to what she calls a trans kid. She was a girl who wanted to become a boy, and she was told that she could. Her parents were cowed into silence, and they were forced to basically comply, and she went through with top surgery. And then a year or so later, she realized that this was just a completely ridiculous proposition. She would never be a boy.
Okay, so this is interesting. I don't know a whole lot about this field or whatever else. Let me tell you a couple things that I do know about this, and hopefully it'll inform your perspective on what she's saying here. Number one, Republicans are absolutely obsessed with hating trans people right now. You know why? Because every time they talk about trans people at debates or events or CPAC or whatever other thing, it gets applauses every single time. Right now is the most popular time to talk shit about the trans community. I don't know why. So that's what these people do. That's what the people on Flashpoint do. Talk shit about trans people nonstop. So that's the first thing that should inform your perspective on this. Number 2, Flashpoint makes shit up all the time about people, constantly. They twist things around and lie about stuff and take things out of context intentionally to make people, to give people a different impression that does not actually reflect the facts of the matter. And number 3, an extremely low percentage of the trans community detransitions. It's 1%, I believe. 1% or less. It is a very small number of people who turn back and change their mind and regret it. And the vast majority of the time when they do detransition, the reason they're detransitioning is because they can't deal with the social consequences. The people in their lives are treating them like fucking garbage 24/7, and they can't deal with it anymore. If people were in a position where they were accepted by their peers and their family, their friends and family, the rate of detransition, I would be willing to bet, would be through the floor. It's already through the floor. It's only 1%. So take that for what you will. I simply don't accept the facts or information that they present on this show because they tend to lie about the facts constantly. But even taking the facts at face value, they're full of shit anyways.
And she learned how to embrace her femininity, and she transitioned back. And now she's speaking out again and against it. And of course, the Democrats are railing against her for speaking the truth.
Democrats aren't railing against anybody. What is she even talking about? I'm not railing against this. I don't even know who this Chloe person is. Where do they dig this Chloe person out of? Like, where'd they even find this Chloe person? I don't know if they're like, I don't know what their pronouns are or anything. That's how little I know about this person. I mean, they're calling her Chloe, so I assume her pronouns are she, her, right? Like, this is just completely made up. This is feeding into the persecution complex constantly. They don't care if people detransition. They want that to happen. They hate trans people. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree. It is less than 1%. It's like 0.01%. Well, let's find out. Let's see if we can find some information. I think I looked this up recently. It's really hard to find trustworthy studies on this. Exceedingly rare. Research has often put the percentage of regret between 1 and 2%, according to some of this stuff. It's hard to tell, but I'll say it was less than 1%. I'll have whoever edits this, if it's me or my editor, one of us will look this up and find out for sure what the actual rate is. But anyway, New York Post. Oh my God, that's terrible. New York Post is the absolute worst. Oh, don't use New York Post. They're not trustworthy at all. That's like reading Fox News for information on trans issues, or even worse, One American News Network. They're just terrible. All right, let's keep listening here.
That's all they have. They only have lies, and it's very sad because
all they have is lies. I love it. This is so funny.
We're losing our place because we've been taught not to stand up for ourselves. We are trained in school not to have discernment. Our schools are anti-Christian in nature.
Dude, what? They're anti-Christian in nature? What the hell are you talking about? Schools are anti-Christian in nature? What?
And they hate Christ, and they hate the truth. And so we are trained in this way. All of us have been school injured at this point.
School injured. Oh my God. I got to write this one down. This is insane. Is this like their claim that we've all been vaccine injured at this point or whatever other nonsense? Oh my God, school injured. What a phrase.
And that's the whole point of what I try to train parents in, is how to bring up your children in a Christ-like home, in a home that honors God, in a way that honors God, right?
I raise my kid in a way that honors your mom.
Bible's very clear. It never ever says put your children in school. It never ever says submit them to the government for their education. And so why are we doing this?
Oh my God, this woman is absolutely unhinged.
When the schools are teaching anti-biblical theology.
They're not. Schools are not teaching anti-biblical theology. What is in this woman's head?
Anti-Christian theology.
Yeah, so true. So true. All right.
No, it's not. Oh my God. Where is this coming from? This is insane.
All right, we've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to find out, because this has been in the news, just how many people really attend a Trump rally. It may not be what you thought it's been after all. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Wow, dude, this show is something else for real. Oh my God. This show is just insane. But oh my God, is it fascinating to listen to these people say the craziest shit. So interesting. Jesus Christ. Okay. Let me know what you think of that. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this in the comments or on Twitter at Telltale Atheist. For those who are unfamiliar, this is a TV show called Flashpoint. It runs on the Victory Network, which is owned and operated by our old buddy Kenneth Copeland. This is the host of the show, Gene Bailey. He's a pastor, absolutely unhinged, far-right nutter butter of epic proportions. If you haven't seen the other parts, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. They split this Flashpoint show into 2 sections, so this is the start of the second section. In the last one, Sam Sorbo, the wife of, Hercules from that old TV show, Sam Sorbo came on and talked about how we're all school injured because schools are trying to teach kids that the Bible is wrong or some other nonsense. It was unhinged. So anyway, let's give this second part a watch and see what they have to say. I'm guarantee this is going to be just as unhinged as the previous one. Let's give it a watch.
Book. I encourage you to do that. All right. Let me show you this tweet before we talk about Trump. If Carrie Lake wins, she should send 24 roses to Liz Cheney.
So Carrie Lake, if you're unfamiliar, she's running for governor of Arizona right now, and she's neck and neck with the other candidate, the Democratic candidate for governor. I believe Hobbs is her name. They're pretty close in the polls right now. Carrie Lake is very, very far right, very pro-Trump, far right extremist who's opposed to vaccines and just the whole 9 yards, you know. So anyway, that's the context. Keep listening.
NBC News says Liz Cheney urges voters to reject Republican nominees for governor and secretary of state next month's midterms, casting them as existential threats to U.S. democracy.
That's, 100% agree. Absolutely. Liz Cheney is one of very few Republicans who stood up to the far-right Trumpist nutcases. Liz Cheney was on the January 6th committee that was investigating Donald Trump's involvement in trying to overthrow the U.S. government. And as a result, she lost her election because she was, I guess, opposed to Donald Trump or whatever. Now, I don't think Trump controls the entire party. I don't think he even controls a majority of the party. But Trump controlled just enough of the party to make Liz Cheney lose because she didn't agree with Trump or whatever other thing. So Trump is most definitely an existential threat to the Republican Party. If he wanted, he could split it in half, and we'd never see another Republican candidate till the end of time. And the Republicans know that. So it's basically a battle between, is Trump going to split the party in half and let Democrats win every election moving forward, or is he going to control the party? That's really what it's all about, unfortunately. So anyways, let's just keep listening, see what they have to say about old Carrie Lake here.
You just can't make this stuff up. I love that. I think we ought to all give roses to Liz Cheney when...
This TV show is far, far right. They are far right extremists. They're Trump supporters to the core, love the dude to death. So naturally, they're going to side with him.
Carrie Lake wins. Speaking of Carrie Lake, she's going to be in Arizona with us next Friday night. You guys need to be there. Make sure you join Flashpoint Live in Phoenix. Notice how I transitioned that right there? That was good, wasn't it? Thank you. I'm glad you noticed. All right. So.
Okay.
Let's talk about President Trump. Does he really have all those people? Come on. Come on, man.
Does he have all those people? What are they talking about? What people? What's he talking about here?
And he doesn't have that many people watching. He doesn't have that many people coming to an event or rally in Arizona, of all places. Watch.
I wish those cameras, the fake news, I wish, look at all of them. I wish they'd turn around and show the crowd. They never like to do it. That goes back as far as the eye can see, and I even see people way back. We do it. We do it. We do it.
What's the point? As far as I know, nobody has like accused Trump of having tiny little crowds. I mean, there have been a couple instances where nobody showed up, or very few people showed up to certain specific rallies that he held. I think he held a rally in D.C. a while back that only brought in like 20-something people, probably because of the area, because it's very blue, and D.C. is super expensive, time of the year, and all that other stuff probably played a factor. Are they trying to like disprove this or something? I mean, yeah, there are a lot of Trump supporters. What's the point here?
State of Arizona has been really huge crowd. We won it big, and we won it big a second time.
All right, so there you go, John. Thank you to Real America's Voice for that footage. They zoomed out, and I'm not sure if you could tell. I mean, there were people all the way around out into the fields. I really don't think his popularity or his support is waning in the least.
Interesting question. Well, this is something that we can objectively measure. Is Trump losing popularity? And I think the answer is a little bit. He's lost a little bit of popularity. It goes up and down based on what's happening in the news in any given moment, basically. And I think at this immediate moment, his support is up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends.
It's really a phenomenon we've never seen before. Most of the presidents, once they're gone, they just ride off into the sunset. You almost never hear from Obama. You almost never hear from Bush. And I'm telling you, in another week, the end of next week, when you do this rally, there's 4,000 or 5,000 people that can pack in there. Please sign up if you can get to Atlanta for a Flashpoints event, because that election was decided by less than 12,000 votes. If just 4,000 or 5,000 people show up.
Wow, this is fascinating. The things that they're saying right now directly contradict their existing beliefs. So their claim is that Obama is actually controlling the administration. He's pulling the strings behind the scenes secretly, right? And then he goes out and contradicts himself by saying that Obama just rode off into the sunset and went off and did his own thing. It was totally uninvolved. He says the election was decided by 12,000 votes. I thought that everybody cheated and that there was no decision to be had, that it was just cheating like across the board. What happened to that? Was there cheating or not? Was Obama involved or not? It's like they're self-contradictory with all the stuff that they believe. Whatever is convenient in the moment, they will espouse. That's what really matters. Whatever is convenient in the moment.
If just 4,000 or 5,000 people show up and you influence 2 or 3 people, it can impact the governor and the senator. We got those guides for both of those. You're going to get these free when you get to the event. It could literally decide who controls the Senate, and it's for sure going to decide who controls the governor, which controls election integrity, life. All the other issues are now state issues, and it's the people. It's a grassroots uprising. It's you using your voice, getting educated, but also learning what you can do.
Actually, honestly, I really like the idea of having voter guides. Somebody should write voter guides. Maybe I should work with someone to write Democratic voter guide or left-wing voter guides. Somebody go in and try to write up who would be best for the country or who would be the most progressive or whatever other thing. That'd be really useful, right?
Exciting to me. It's not just Trump, but there's other people like Flashpoint that are out there rallying the base.
So when you come to Phoenix, we will have those to hand out and give to you there. John's making it available to you for free, so you can come and they'll have them there to hand out to you. Of course, you can always go to millionvoices.org and get more information about that.
It's going to be a hard pass for me, dog.
All right. Something else happened. This is, I really appreciate this administration and the left that goes along with it because there's so much to talk about. So in light of standing up, people like Jack Brewer we talked to earlier, something else happened. We saw Tulsi Gabbard move away. Well, PayPal goes a little bit too far. Got a series of tweets I want you to see.
Oh my God. Yeah, PayPal. Okay. PayPal they did something to piss the right off recently. It wasn't even that big of a deal, but everybody just lost their minds over it. Oh my God. They just cannot shut up about being persecuted, can they?
It's hard. Now, this is from David Marcus. It's hard for me to openly criticize a company I used to love and gave so much to, but PayPal's, that's authorization use policy, goes against everything I believe in. A private company now gets to decide to take your money if you say something they disagree with.
That is not what PayPal was doing. That is a complete fabrication, misrepresentation of the facts, but okay.
Insanity. And of course, Elon Musk agrees. So if you didn't know.
So Elon Musk created PayPal, FYI. Or I don't know if he created it himself. I don't know if he's like a coder or whatever, but he worked with somebody to create PayPal. Anyways, it was him and one other person. And then they sold it off, and that's where Elon Musk got all his money. Or one of the places he got all of his money. So that's why his opinion is relevant here.
Their whole policy was, if you say something that they deem as misinformation, they would take $2,500 out of your account. It just didn't go over. Let's keep going. Trending.
Yeah, so their policy, have you noticed that they haven't actually shown the policy on the show? Like they have their screen pulled up. They're showing all kinds of pictures and stuff, right? Why didn't they actually show the picture of the policy? Because they're misrepresenting it, of course. But anyway, yeah. You know what? Let me just see if I can pull it up real quick. October 10th, Reuters. PayPal Holdings, Inc., PYPL.O, said on Monday that it will not fine users for misinformation, and an earlier policy update that said customers could have to pay $2,500 in damages was sent in error. Shares of the San Jose, California-based company were down nearly 6% after the update, which PayPal said included incorrect information, sparked intense backlash on social media over the weekend. PayPal is not fining people for misinformation, and this language was never intended to be inserted in our policy. We're sorry for the confusion this has caused, a spokesperson for the company said. According to several media reports last week, PayPal had published a policy update prohibiting customers from using its services for activities identified by it as sending, posting, or publication of any messages, content, or materials promoting misinformation. The new policy, which said customers could have to pay damages of $2,500 for each violation, was supposed to go into effect on November 3rd, the report said. PayPal's former president, David Marcus, slammed the policy in a tweet on Saturday, saying the new policy goes against everything I believe in. A private company now gets to decide to take your money if you say something they disagree with. Insanity, Marcus tweeted. Elon Musk, the billionaire Tesla Inc. chief, who co-founded PayPal, tweeted, agreed, replying to Marcus's tweet. If PayPal really did start taking $2,500 out of people's accounts for saying things they disagreed with, I don't think that would stand. I can't imagine. That's got to be illegal, right? I can't imagine a situation in which that actually goes through and sticks as a policy. I mean, it's not sticking. They removed it, obviously. So, but if they actually tried to enforce that, I would have to imagine they would be sued out of existence for it. So anyway, there's the information straight from Reuters. They're pretty trustworthy. Okay, so now that we have that under our belt, let's keep listening to Flashpoint and see what they have to say about the situation. See, this is something that generally I think we agree on, me and Flashpoint. They're going to turn this into a massive point of persecution. The policy was reversed. It was widely hated and reversed for one reason or another. Whether they even meant to put it out or not, I don't know. But it's not being released. Despite that fact, they're going to use it as a source of persecution. They're going to make everybody think that they're being mistreated, like the people of Flashpoint, because they think that it's going to be used against them for one reason or another.
Fallout mounting across social media platforms, including Twitter, with bankrupt PayPal hashtag now trending in response to PayPal's recent policy change and subsequent walkback. So people took to their social media. This is the most encouraging thing. We're seeing people rally together. Oh, yeah? Oh, I don't think so. Look at what Lauren Boebert said, Congresswoman. Remember?
Oh, God, Bear, not her.
The only reason PayPal won't be fining people $2,500 for misinformation is because we spoke up, boycotted them, and canceled our accounts. Do not silently be a player in the game of cancel culture. Fight back.
Dude, are you kidding me? Oh my God, I love everything about this tweet. In the tweet, she says, "This worked because we canceled PayPal. Do not silently be a player in the game of cancel culture." Denouncing cancel culture and saying that they can't. What is she canceling cancel culture? Oh, you got to be kidding me. This is hilarious. Oh my God. She has no idea how deeply hypocritical and ridiculous she is as a human being, does she? She has no idea. I don't think she even knows, does she? This is really funny. Yeah, hypocrisy is a word without meaning for these guys, exactly. We won because we canceled PayPal. Don't let cancel culture win. She is just a simply ridiculous human being, right? She is, isn't she? Just insane.
It's exactly what we tell you right here on Flashpoint every week. I'm not done. Let's go to Candace Owens. Candace Owens says, ask PayPal your process currently makes me confirm my identity by texting me a passcode. When I enter the passcode, it says my identity has been verified and sends me back to the beginning of the process. I want my data deleted, so that's not going very well.
Okay, so I assume what she's saying here is that she's being persecuted because the website has a bug in it. Is that right? Am I reading this correctly? I mean, it definitely seems like she's just describing a bug, right?
Well, that sounds a little disingenuous. One more. Looks like they've disabled account closure over at PayPal to prevent customers from exiting their platform. No doubt there'll be the usual corporate speak on temporary technical issue in 5, 4, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, do not use PayPal. Just don't. Even if they say they're going to correct this, this shows you their heart.
Well, they already corrected it.
Shows you who they are. Delete your credit cards before you close your account. Make them pay. This is Mario. This is what's so encouraging to me. We've been saying this for over 2 years. You need to stand up. You need to make your voice heard. And we've just tonight talked about 2 or 3 situations where people's voice is being heard and they're putting their action to it.
Yeah, it's really wonderful to watch this. I think the most essential thing for all of us to take back today is this. Our children were the tipping point. What they
Oh my God. Okay, these people are absolutely obsessed with saving the children. And the reason is because they don't get, movements do not get popular support until they come up with something that everybody can agree with, right? So they can talk about, how much they want to disenfranchise black voters. That's not going to be very popular because only a small subset of the population wants that, even if it's just, right-wing Republicans or whatever. Most people want black voters to have a voice, right? So they pick things that have wide appeal, and hurting children has wide appeal. That's why QAnon's constantly accusing people of being like child. Because they think that it's a perspective or a strategy or a tactic that they can use to get Democrats on board too. So here we have them talking about saving the children nonstop. Here he's doing it again. Save the children. We need to save the children. They're after our children. That's why practically every ridiculous claim that comes out of these people routes back to schools in some way, what they're teaching in schools, what they're doing to the kids or whatever other thing. They're corrupting our children because they want you to be afraid for your kids.
started to do to our children is what finally ignited. The rest is rippled out. Matt Walsh said something really powerful about
Did he say Matt Walsh? Does he even watch Matt Walsh? That's kind of crazy, right?
children in public school. He said, I'm taking mine out. He said, because it's a suicide mission. You're saying, oh, I want to keep my child in there to save the system. He recommended letting it die on its own merit. But the one thing he said is, your child shouldn't have to fight that fight. It's not you, the parent, fighting the public school. It's your child that's fighting it. And see, it was months ago when Hank Kunneman said, it will be about the children. Not long after that prophetic word, Virginia fell because of the words of the gentleman who was running for governor, Democrat, that said, Terry McCollum, he said parents should not have the final say on their children's education. Well, that's what's
They shouldn't. There should be a standard curriculum that's used to determine what children are taught. I mean, parents should probably have some degree of say on what the curriculum should be or whatever. Parents should not be able to, like, pull their kids out and prevent them from learning this thing or that thing or whatever else because they just don't like it. You know, I don't give a shit if you don't like evolution. It's a fact of the world, and it should be a necessary lesson in science class or whatever. It's just that simple.
done it, folks. And now the victory is ours. It's within our reach. We see it. We can taste
God, they're doing everything they can to destroy the public school system. It's honestly sad. Sad and dangerous.
it. And it's time for us to act. And I really believe that's why this show was blessed by God. Flashpoint was blessed because it was a vanguard, ahead of the curve, ahead of its time, saying the things that so many were afraid to say. Now a lot more people are saying. You know, the Bible says that when Paul was put in prison, in Philippians 1, he said these words, I want you to know that the things that have happened to me by being jailed have fallen out for the furtherance of the gospel. And he said, many of my brethren are now bolder. You're watching it across America. Pastors getting in their pulpit said, I'm sorry I was silent on gay marriage. Forgive me for not talking about the evil of abortion. I am.
You know, there was a study done recently on why people turned to Trump in the first place, like what convinced them to vote for him originally in 2016, and what made them stop voting for him in 2020 or 2022 or whatever. What made them turn their backs on him? Interestingly enough, it sounds like a lot of people turned to Donald Trump when their pastors endorsed him, like openly, explicitly said you should vote for Donald Trump, which, by the way, is against the law, but doesn't really matter. It's also against the law to put stickers of Joe Biden pointing at gas prices on gas pumps that say, I did that, but they do that anyways. They don't even care if it's illegal or not because they know that they're not going to be charged for it. So, anyways, point is, most people finally, like the evangelical voting bloc, turned to Donald Trump when pastors convinced them to, basically. That's why a lot of the evangelical voting bloc came along and started voting for him in the first place. And a lot of people left Trump behind politically because they felt like he made a lot of promises that he didn't live up to. It was generally, from my understanding, for personal, selfish reasons, which, you know what, fine. If that's what it takes to convince you to stop voting for him, okay. I really don't even care that much. But I find it fascinating that that was the thing that pulled people into Trump in the first place. Pastors telling people to vote for him, which, interestingly enough, is the exact thing that Mario Murillo is doing right now, telling pastors to instruct their parishioners or churchgoers or whatever to vote for Trump. He's outright telling them to break the law and instruct their people to vote for him. That's fascinating and sad simultaneously. It's clearly criminal. They should at least lose their tax exemption status. Absolutely. Yeah, they most definitely should. I really don't understand why nobody is going after all those religious groups that are openly political. Can you explain that, Telltale? I mean, it's clearly criminal. They should at least lose their tax exempt status. I missed the first half of that, sorry. It's an IRS tax code that they are legally supposed to pay taxes if they refuse to, or if they're getting involved in politics, but the problem is that the IRS is not prosecuting those cases. The IRS doesn't even give a shit if they're political or not. They seem to be perfectly fine with the fact that some churches are political, despite the fact that it's blatantly and openly against the law and criminal. The IRS doesn't seem to be prosecuting those cases. So this is called a two-tier justice system. In all seriousness, really, it is. When the justice system chooses not to charge certain people just because they think that this is preferable to society to be more religious, but they charge others for similar things. Like they'll charge a Muslim church for getting political. This is a two-tiered justice system, and it's deeply dangerous. Dangerous to society that this is happening right now.
I'm now going to signal to the sheep of my congregation how to
Sheeple!
vote, how to speak up. We no longer fear this vile and devilish amendment called the Johnson Amendment.
Yeah, so the Johnson Amendment is the amendment in IRS tax code that says you're not, if you are tax exempt, you are not allowed to endorse specific political campaigns or candidates or whatever. That's what it says. You are perfectly free to endorse those candidates as a man of God or whatever. You just can't be tax exempt simultaneously. And here we have Mario Murillo openly saying, I am defying the law, the U.S. tax code, ignoring it, and I am openly endorsing a political candidate.
Sorry, I was silent on gay marriage. Forgive me for not talking about the evil of abortion. I am.
What? At no point is he like talking. This never happened. He was always open about hating gay marriage and abortion and stuff. And that's not illegal anyways. What's illegal, or what will force you to pay taxes rather, would be endorsing a specific political candidate like Donald Trump. You have always been perfectly free to talk about gay marriage or abortion or whatever. That has never been on the table. What is he even talking about? The reason he's even bringing it up is because he wants to feel persecuted. He wants others to feel like they are persecuted. That's what it's all about, because it creates a sense of brotherhood, camaraderie, and group loyalty. It makes people feel like they are connected to a group and sharing in a negative experience together, a negative experience of persecution. Michael Garbowski, welcome. My religious aunt voted for Trump in 2016. She believed he was a man of God. She stopped supporting him after COVID and January 6th. Well, that's good. You know, some people come to their senses and realize that he's just a con man, an elaborate scam artist. Some people still watch him and love him and agree with him and all that stuff. It's sad, man.
I am now going to signal to the sheep of my congregation
Sheeple!
how to vote, how to speak up. We no longer fear this vile and devilish amendment called the Johnson Amendment that has silenced pastors for so many decades. Now we're on the alert. Now we're on the attack. We're coming on the offensive. You know, people will love to call you names. They say, oh, you're a Christian nationalist. Let me give you a better word. You're a Christian rationalist. You're
Okay, but they're still Christian nationalists.
Somebody that is using common sense. I'm not trying to get rid of democracy. I'm trying to save the very roots that brought our freedom to us.
No, they're trying to get rid of democracy, actually.
And it is so disingenuous for the left to say that we're a threat to freedom. That is the polar opposite of what we are. And you need to say it.
He likes to believe that it's the polar opposite, but it's not. They're trying to delete democracy from the United States, period. That's just what they've been trying to do. These people specifically. I'm not talking Republicans in general. I'm talking the far right, ultra MAGA people. That's what they're doing.
You see, you look at us on TV and you say, well, you guys are the experts. Are you kidding? The average everyday American has the power to be devastatingly effective to their friends and neighbors. Suddenly speaking up. It doesn't take a lot, but it works and it's powerful.
It is powerful, and that's why I'm so glad to see you guys at home standing up and making it known.
That's very true. That's very true. And that's why it's important that we take the advice that they give to their people, like regarding election stuff or whatever. If they tell their people that, you know, you need to get out there and vote, then we should be getting out there and voting, right? If they tell their people that they need to engage in the meme war, we need to be out there engaging in the meme war. We need to be doing all of the things that they're telling their people that they should be doing. That's all I've got for you this time. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And let me know if you want to see more stuff like this in the comments or on Twitter. Thanks for watching, guys.